Welcome to the Toronto Sports Rush channel, brought to you by the Bet Rivers Network. This is a live reaction show. The Maple Leafs have just left the ice, victorious over the Chicago Blackhawks, 3-2. I'm Kyle. This is Pierre McGuire. Pierre, I I want to stick to my notes because for 50 minutes I was making notes on this game, and they were not good. And some of them I can't really read. And then they played an amazing 10 minutes of hockey all of a sudden and escape this game with 2 regulation points. What what's going on with this hockey team?
Do you remember when you were a youth athlete and your coach would say, play to the last whistle? The game's never over till it's over
Yeah,
and give the best you got.
yeah.
They gave the best they got in the last 7 minutes of the game. I
It's
never, I got to tell you. So I was listening to the feed, Kyle, and they scored 2 goals in 8 seconds. Though that's a fourth fastest 2 goal
yeah,
achievement by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not this season, not last season, but in their history. In their history, it was confounding. It was bizarre to watch. They were getting booed off the ice. People were being really sarcastic and swarmy.
yeah, they were.
The Leafs deserved all of it. They
They did,
deserved all
they
of
did.
it. And then they win the game. How do you explain it?
So, I'm trying not to be a purely negative person right now about this hockey team and about this hockey game because they escaped with, again, 2 regulation points. They gave up none to the Blackhawks, not that it matters to them much. But they played for 10 minutes, Pierre, and they were, as you say, rightfully getting booed in the 3rd period. Their puck movement is atrocious. I texted you and I said, the second they get over the blue line, the plan ends there. There's no plan
Yeah.
after that. Matthews has lost a step, but they escaped with 2 points. But should they have cleaned this Chicago team out of the arena tonight without Bedard? Like, I expected something very different from them. I thought I'd see more effort. I didn't see it until the end of the game.
There was no effort in that game. There were 3 players that I thought stood out effort-wise. One was Scott Laughton, one was Easton Cowan, and one was Troy Stetcher.
Mhm.
Those 3 guys stood out to me in terms of effort, and Laughton really tried his butt off. You and
He
I were
did.
texting back and forth. I gotta give him a lot of credit. He was trying. But the rest of them, I mean, I was absolutely shocked. I was mortified. And you see the way Craig Berube was losing his mind in the first
Yeah.
period on the bench. That's about as angry as I've ever seen him. And I got to tell you, I did a lot of his games when he won the Stanley Cup as a head coach in 2019. I've never seen him that angry ever.
So, okay, let's try and stick with some positive here. They won 60% of the faceoffs tonight.
Mhm.
That's a great number. They need to keep that going. They scored a power play goal, but generally speaking, Chicago had the advantage when they were on the power play,
They
including a
did.
shorthanded goal in nearly several others. It's it's so frustrating with a team with this much firepower to feel like this after a victory. There's so many things and none of them are major. And don't tell me a single injury at this point is what's holding this team back. It's not.
No,
They have
no.
2 capable goalies right now. We don't know what's going on with Stolarz. It's not a concussion. But oh, this is confounding. This is such a tough thing to comment on and really observe with any sort of objectivity.
Well, I wonder about Willie Nylander's health because he
Yeah.
almost looks disinterested, almost like he's playing in pain or something's wrong with him. I worry about Matthew Nyes, and I know he had one big hit in the first period on Ryan
Mhm,
Donato, but
mhm.
outside of that, I didn't see much coming out of Matthew Nyes. You talked about Austin Matthews slowing down. He does, Kyle. He does look slower. He does.
He
There's
does.
no question about it. He scored a huge goal. Obviously a massive goal.
And a great one.
Um,
It was a great goal.
it was a tremendous goal, and then
Yeah.
obviously Dakota Joshua goes all kinds of magic, which is
Mhm.
beautiful. But I mean, I don't. I got to tell you, I don't understand the process of this whole thing. And the one thing I would say too that's really confounding to me, I, if anything, you'd expect physical pushback. You'd expect some bumping and grinding. Did you see very outside of Matthew Nyes in the neutral zone? I never saw a check get finished. I really didn't.
No, I mean, I saw tough physical play from Lawton, especially getting them on the power play there
Yeah.
in the first period. We texted about that as well, but it was not like he was like throwing his body all over the ice. He was just playing a physical brand of hockey. They're not hitting. They're listless and lost on the offensive end of the ice.
Mhm.
They still getting pretty good goaltending, and that's been somewhat of a constant since Wall came back, whether it was him or Hildeby, but
Mhm.
there's always parts missing. They took 50 minutes off of this hockey game tonight. And if it was any other team than the Bedardless Chicago Blackhawks, they would have been in big trouble, Pierre.
Big trouble is a very big statement, but it's very true.
Yeah,
It's extremely true. And think about it. This is a rebuilding Chicago Blackhawk team still. Most of that defense is really young. You
yeah,
take away Connor Murphy and Matt Grzelcyk from that defense, you're talking about a lot of young guys with not a lot of experience. You look up front, Frankie Nazar. You look at all these guys, the young guys they have up front. This is a young team.
yeah,
So you're right. And I'm the positive thing is the face-off play. I
yeah.
thought the positive thing was Joe Waldman coming up with some huge saves for them at key times. I thought Scott Lawton was a positive. I think, and I know people are going to say, "Well, you got to do this." Easton Cowan needs to get a home and he needs to play.
Yeah.
Get him playing, man. The guy plays with vim, vigor, and vitality. Get him out there and get him playing.
They need the spark of his youth right now because they're not getting it from Matthews. Although maybe a goal like tonight's will change things, but I doubt it. He's lost a step. They're not getting it from Nylander. Tavares has sort of returned to the means to a bit of a degree. He had a great start to the season. It's not that he's playing terrible or anything right now, but he's not the same guy that started the season.
No.
They have to find the spark somewhere, and sometimes you have to look towards the youth the way a team like Chicago has during this rebuilding.
No question. I love that statement because it's so fair and it's so accurate. Here's one other question I have for you. I know Matthias Michelli hasn't worked out yet,
Yeah.
but I mean, is Max Domi giving you anything more than what he's been doing? And I'm
No,
a
and
Max fan, but Max got to get going here.
yeah, I mean, I'll hear it in the comments. But I don't think Michelli's got a fair shake. I from what I think his potential is, but he hasn't looked great when he's been in there either. But I mean,
No.
he's not your number one problem right now. It's so easy as the fans will in the comments after the show. I guarantee that, and just the general fan base and observers like us, it's so easy to try and pick at different parts of this. But this is a collective mess. It's really difficult to figure out. They are not the sum of their parts, and they are running out of time to course correct.
When Brad Treliving said this summer that he wanted to change the DNA of the team, his words, not your words, not my words, not the
Yeah.
fans, his words, I thought he was going to do it.
Well, he did.
Yeah, but I
He
thought
did. Now the DNA might miss the playoffs.
so. This is for all the people out there that wanted Mitchell Marner gone.
Yeah.
Maybe that wasn't such a good idea.
Yeah, and I'm full stop. I was one of the people that thought this could work out for them, thought maybe he didn't want to be there. Maybe we're seeing now part of the reason why he didn't want to be here. Maybe he actually realized he was the glue, and I'm not saying he was entirely the glue.
No,
Something is missing. And Pierre, it pains me that we're talking this way after a regulation victory, but we're
yeah,
only commenting on what we saw. And what we saw was an effort, and it was already put up in the chat during this show. Best 8 seconds of their season. They basically rode a bull to victory tonight because they stayed on for 8 seconds, scored
mhm,
those 2 goals. And Ekman Larson's, that was a pinball shot from the point. Like that's a fluky goal, which you need to
yeah,
take
yeah.
advantage of. But we're talking about this after a regulation victory, and it's painful.
I'm not going to lie to the viewers, and I'm definitely not going to lie to you. I have way too much respect for you as a partner and a teammate, but I got to tell you, there's some soul searching that has to go on here when the Leafs head out on the road now. They got
Yeah,
to start to dig deep. Either they want to play for one another or they don't. And I know usually you don't have player only meetings after wins. This is one of those times where you say, fellas, we got to talk here. Like
yeah,
what's ailing you? What is bothering you? What is the issue? Is it Craig Berube yelling at you? Because if that's the case, like you shouldn't be in this league. Seriously, stuff happens all the time. If guys are going to be that sensitive, you got a big issue here. But the biggest thing right now, they need Matthews better. They need Nyes better. They need Nylander better. They need Domi better. Johnny T's giving you what he has. I just think he's a little fatigued right now. It was a pretty
sure.
heavy weight he had to bear through most of the first 30 games of the year. He looks a
That's right.
little tired, honestly.
He
He
does.
does.
He really, really does. And just, moving forward with this team, I'm going to quickly look at their upcoming schedule. Like they're in Washington,
Yep.
they're in Nashville, in
Yep.
Dallas, back home against Pittsburgh. Then they got off. These are going to be tough games coming up, as you pointed out, Pierre. And, they can't just keep middling around 500 because then we're looking at a team they're not a threat to anyone right now.
No.
Again,
No.
I've said this multiple times. They're not the sum of their parts. It's so difficult. I like Berube must be pulling those last few hairs out after every single game because one night it's one thing, the next night it's another thing. It's not just Matthews. It's like the whole team, as you said, has lost a step. Goaltending has been pretty good lately, but I can't carry a team that won't put pucks in the net. No power play to speak of.
No.
It's just
The power play is very frustrating to watch.
so frustrating.
It's so frustrating to watch because it's never in a straight line. It's always a spinorama back pass. It's always a saucer pass. It's always a slick play. It's never a
Guys
hard play.
bunching up. Guys
Yeah,
bunching
you
up. And
gotta make hard plays at the goal. You gotta jam the net. You gotta be hard on faceoffs, win the initial draw. I mean, there's so much that you want to see that could be better. I still am not prepared to give up on this team, but I think they got to start making some real hard decisions about certain guys. I really do. And they got to challenge one another. Kyle, if they don't start challenging one another internally in the dressing room, and I'm not talking about the coaches, I'm talking player to player, this is not getting fixed.
it's almost
It's
Christmas,
not.
Beer. It's almost Christmas. And it's interesting that you just said that about challenging each other because one of our viewers in the chat right now, Stone County, just mentioned nobody gets mad.
Well,
And
that's
this
what I'm
person,
saying.
I assume Stone's a guy. He's right. Nobody gets mad. Like Austin Matthews needs to grab one of his teammates by the jersey and like shake him. Like there's no, these guys need to step up and play a different version of a game. And again, in the chat now, a good, amazing comeback. It was a good, amazing comeback.
Yeah, it
But
was.
again, you're not going to do this against most teams in the NHL. This is a bedardless Chicago Blackhawk team that got very good goaltending tonight, by the way, generally speaking, until maybe a stretch of 5 or 6 minutes. But it is what it is. It's we need someone on this hockey team to rattle the cages of their teammates around them. And I think, like as you say, Tavares is not that guy anymore.
No,
He doesn't have the energy for it. It's also not his job. This
no.
job, it belongs to Austin Matthews. And I don't know, frankly, if he has it in him to be that player. I'm not sure anymore.
We agree. And I think, for instance, I can tell you right now, Austin Matthews is a tremendous talent. We all know that. But he needs to be harder on things. Austin Matthews in his real glory days is a hard guy to play against. He might be hurt. I don't know. But if he is, they should say something. Because right now he's hurting his legacy. I'm telling you right
Yeah,
now,
he
he
is.
is.
He is. Again, in the chat right now, we've got someone on fire right now. After Matthews scored his goal, he did the give me some love to the crowd. It's like,
Yeah,
for what? Like, you
no.
did score. It was a beautiful goal. It was a high effort goal. It was a classic Matthews goal. Where are those efforts night after night? Where he used to throw the body around more. He used to have a step on guys. Now he's lost a step on guys. He seems lost in the offensive zone a lot of the time. I don't know if it's his new line, his teammates, but it was, I agree with the commenter. It was a little embarrassing to be calling for the love from the fans. The fans aren't your problem. The fans aren't your problem. The way your team that you're captaining is playing is your problem.
Back in the old days when it was a little bit more draconian, when I was probably doing it, if we saw something like that and it was a bit embarrassing, I would have, and I'm just using it as a hypothetical right now, I would have taken tape of Nathan McKinnon and said, see him, try to
Yeah.
be like him. Try
Yeah.
to be like him for like 10 games. Be like him. Be a dominant power player. Run the game. Don't play to the crowd. Don't try to show up guys in the other team. Be him.
Because if
Be
he's not
him.
hurt, he can be him. He
Of
was him
course he
2 years ago.
can. Of
He was
course he
him for a
can.
lot of. It's just, again, it's so easy to be negative right now, but we're only reporting on what we saw out there tonight, and what we saw out there is a team that's probably going to miss the playoffs if they continue with this effort. This is not a good Chicago Blackhawk team right
No,
now.
no.
They're missing one of the best players in the NHL, and they're in for some very tough nights if they keep going down this road. You know, period after period being outshot. Again, the positive, they win a lot of faceoffs. That's so key.
Yeah.
But what happens once they gain control of the puck? Nothing. Nothing happens.
It's
I
way
just
too much east-west. It's way too much
Mhm.
spinorama. It's way too much toe dragging. It's way too much saucer passing. All I'm saying is simplify and make hard plays.
Yes.
Be the old Toronto Maple Leafs when you had Matt Sundin and Shane Corson and Ty Domi and Gary Roberts and all these Joe Nundyke. Like, be hard.
Yeah.
Dougie Gilmore. Be hard. Stop being like a cutie pie. Be a hard player. And it's not just for one or two guys. I want more Scott Lawton. You know what I mean? I want more Troy Stetcher. They should all take a little page out of what those two guys are doing, a little
Yeah.
more Eastern Cowan. You need guys that are angry, and I'm not sure they
You're
have that
right.
right now.
Yeah, it's I think we've pretty much summed this up about as well as we can, Pierre. It, they may look at a night like tonight later on in the season as it's a good thing we grabbed those 2 points. They got us in the playoffs, and especially if they do correct this team a little bit more going into the playoffs where they actually could become a threat. They need these points like tonight. But as a fan base, you can't take a lot of positive away from a game like this. So I would like to jump around the NHL very briefly for here because I
You
don't
go,
have a lot.
sir. I'm ready for
I
it.
don't have
I'm
an
ready.
absolute very interesting matchup in between Edmonton and Pittsburgh tonight. Of course, Skinner gets to see what it's like having Connor McDavid skate after at him when it matters, and McDavid put a puck in the net. That trade was interesting, but more so to that, is this Edmonton Oiler team starting to turn things around a little bit here?
I think this was a wake-up call they had to have. You know, sometimes you need to scare a team straight, and I
Mhm.
think this trade probably scared this team straight. Skinner was a popular guy with
Yeah,
McDavid. He was a popular guy with Draisaitl. He was a popular guy with Hyman. Very popular guy with Nugent Hopkins. Very popular guy with Darnell Nurse. That's the infrastructure of the team, Cal. So I think when they saw their buddy get traded out of town, and then you compound that by trading Kulak out of town as well, it got everybody's attention. And I think that's part of what Stan Bowman was trying to do.
so, Pierre, I asked you that question for a very pointed reason because I'm going to use this as an excuse to turn things back to the Leafs. Do the Leafs need to rattle the cage in the same way? Does someone need to be shipped out of town to wake these guys up?
I think it was 2 weeks ago when I said to you, at some point here, if it doesn't turn around pretty quick, they're going to have to shake the tree. That's
Yeah,
the term that I used. And I think you're getting close to that right now. This is because Florida Panthers have won 4 of 5. They're starting to roll. Nobody
that's
expected
right.
Philadelphia to be in a wild card position at this time of the year. A lot of people thought the Boston Bruins would be at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. They're in a playoff position right now. Nobody expected the Rangers to fold like they're folding.
No.
So if they get on a run and you don't, and you're Toronto, you're just in bigger trouble. Detroit is what I thought they would be. Ottawa's going to start the. You'll see Ottawa's starting to percolate. Huge win for them in Winnipeg last night. Brady Kachuk's really starting to get going with Stutzla. They're going to get Pinto back. They're going to get Shabbat back. Ottawa's going to be okay. If I were Montreal, I'd be a little bit worried. I'd be a
Mhm.
little bit worried because they're starting to look like a one-line team, which is not a good thing because that's what's going on in Winnipeg right now, and that's a bad thing. So I think at some point Brad's going to have to shake the tree here pretty quick if they don't really get on a run here before Christmas.
Okay, and so speaking of that tree shaking, leading into this season, we had speculated, you and I on these very
Mhm.
shows had speculated that there was probably one more piece that was going to be put in as part of this new DNA. It'd probably be a trade a few months into the season. They'd look for that last piece, see what the market can do.
Mhm.
Now, based on what we're having this conversation, is the move to make more of a subtractive trade to rattle this cage and wake these guys up. Like, are they even in a position to be looking for the is the piece that they need something to remove as opposed to something to add potentially?
I don't think there's much you can remove right now. I think what they
Yeah.
need to do is add a top six winger. I really
Okay.
do. I don't think Max is going to be that guy. I don't think Bobby McMahon's going to be that guy. I think they need one more right winger. I really do. I think that's a really important part of this right now. Maybe even a left winger. They also need, if they could ever get a poor man on the back end, like a
Sure.
second quarterback for a power play.
Puck mover.
That would help them a lot. They don't need to have an elite guy because all those forwards are so good, Cal. But they desperately need somebody in the back end that can make some plays. And I know they're going to say, "Look at Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He's got 6 goals in this." Listen, let Oliver Ekman-Larsson play stout defense and move the puck cleanly out of his own zone. Take all that pressure off of him for running a power play. It happened in Montreal last year. They took Matheson off the first power play. They put Lane Hudson on it. Matheson played unbelievable. Power play was good. Canadians made the playoffs. It's that simple.
Yeah, it really is. And the problem is with this too. I totally agree with the part about the top six player. Basically, we need a first or second line winger on this hockey team to
Yeah.
complete them. But the price of those guys these days is not something they might not be willing to pay it with who they would have to deal in return to get someone like that back.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, you're not. I wouldn't be trading Easton Cowan.
No, absolutely not.
I wouldn't be trading Ben Danford. I mean, I wouldn't be trading a lot of their prospects. They don't have a lot.
we're going to do one of these shows, Pierre, about a month from now, a little bit later in January. And I'm going to rewatch this specific one
Yeah.
because tonight, there's been a lot of bad losses this season. We'll end this here in a moment. There's been a lot of bad losses in this season, but it's been rare I've had so much negative thoughts on the heels of a win. Kudos
Right.
for grabbing the 2 points. It's a good thing. But they should be being eviscerated by Berube right now. He should be laying into them for the way they played and letting them know that if they think escaping with 2 points is the way forward, they need to start winning hockey games instead of backing their way into wins like this. What are your closing thoughts here, Pierre?
I'm totally on Team Kyle. I agree 100%. I'm telling you, the one thing I would say, it might not happen tonight. There might need a cool down period. He might do that just because of his eruption on the bench. But I can tell you, there'll be a video session tomorrow.
Oh, I
I
bet.
guarantee you there will be a video session tomorrow. And I think that's where some of the vitriol could come out to get their attention going into this first game in Washington, and then Nashville, and then Dallas. I mean, I'm telling you, there could be a eye-opening sequence of video tomorrow.
If I'm Craig Brewery right now, I am launching a petition to try and get the Olympics started a month early because this team could use the break. And
That's good.
they just could. It just feels to me like they look tired, and it's too early in the season. We're at the 1/3 mark here. It's nuts. Anyways, Pierre, thank you very much for joining us. Toronto Maple Leafs.
That was therapeutic because I was getting revved up watching the game. I was like,
I was too, and it's frustrating because, again, as I said this, they're not the sum of the parts. This hockey team can be better than they're playing, but the more I keep trumpeting that, the more a fool I sound because they are not adding up to what I thought they would be or could be, and it's not even close. And it's very disappointing as a fan of hockey in general.
Well, I'm
Just
glad
is.
I'm glad I'm your teammate. I'll tell you that. There's enough
Maybe I'll
there.
talk to them.
There's
Maybe
some
I'll
good
talk to them.
energy
I'm gonna
there.
call
I
Craig.
like that.
Pierre, thanks so much for joining us. The Toronto Maple Leafs escape with a 3-2 victory in Toronto versus the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. This has been Toronto Sports Rush, brought to you by the Bet Rivers Network.